Welcome to the AI Queens podcast, the show where women entrepreneurs learn to ditch the overwhelm, embrace AI, and build businesses fit for royalty. I'm Erica Stanley, your host and tech expert, here to deliver tools, tips, and actionable strategies to help you scale smarter. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to Big Brave Business, here for the second episode of season 2. And I'm excited with return guests today. If you've been listening to the podcast, first of all, thank you. But second of all, you've heard them on here before, and I'm so excited to bring them back to talk about AI today. So first of all, in case you don't know me, my name is Sarah. I am the host of Big Brave Business. I'm also a podcast producer and strategic consultant. And AnnMarie?
I'm a life-proof business scaling strategist.
Hi, I am Erica Stanley, and I am a brand and web designer and AI strategist.
Yes. And like shameless plug, because we're working on it together, Erica also has a podcast about AI that launched this year. And yeah, it's called AI Queens. So shameless plug because I produce it. So I'm not ashamed to say it. Here's the big question today. What ethical concerns should businesses consider as AI becomes more integrated into entrepreneurship?
Oof, where do we want to start?
What comes up for you when you think about like the ethics of AI in your own business? Like, what is the first thing that kind of comes up for you?
Immediately, it's the bias that the models are only as good as they are trained to be. And they are trained by a very specific set of folks.
A limited data set, if you will.
Yep. I'm just going to throw that out there and see where it goes.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good one. I think that bias is one of the things that I had specifically noted as well. I think, yeah, well, yes. And I try when I interact with like LLMs like ChatGPT, I try to account for bias, but that's hard. So like, I don't know. That's something that comes up for me about bias specifically is like trying to feed it and train it and teach it on like, here are my values. Here's what's important to me. Here's what, please don't use any language about this. Please use language like this. Or if it gives me results that include language that does not align, I try to give it the feedback of like, hey, like, this is biased, like we don't want to do this in anything that we're working on for the context of this. We should not be doing that, right? Like that's how I try to navigate that, but I don't know what else to do with that. What are your thoughts, AnnMarie?
So I am not as deep into like knowing all the tech behind AI. I mean, I know a little
Most of
bit.
us aren't.
Right. And so I'm most often thinking about it in the context of how I'm leveraging it in my business and life, I guess, and then also in encouraging clients to use it for particular things in business. I often refer to AI in my world as a thought partner. And of course, like if I'm creating my own GPTs or whatever, with the intention of it being a thought partner around a particular topic that has like some set parameters and things like that. And so one thing I've noticed coming up is sometimes as a strategist, I'm basically paid for my brain power, right? And so sometimes I will find myself, I'll leverage AI as like a starting point, even when working on client things. Like I'll just use it as that initial thought partner when I'm like, hold on, I need to think through this challenge that my client is having. Like we've had the conversation, I know where they're coming from, but let me get behind the scenes a little bit and think through this challenge. And so there's been a little bit of this is like, is this really me like strategizing through the issue? And I think what I've landed on for myself is I usually go in to talking to AI about if it's a client issue, if it's whatever it is, with an idea of where I want to go with it. Like I already have an idea of the end game solution in my mind. It's just more of an articulation thing that I'm looking for support on, or that I'm looking for a stronger jumping off point to really ground this more nebulous idea into something a bit more concrete. And then from there, I'm looking at, okay, now which parts of this response that I got are actually aligned with and are unbiased and are all those other things. So it's a little bit for me like ethically questioning like what elements of this are ethical for me to be using in my work.
I want to ask you a quick follow-up question.
Yeah.
If you were working with a team of people and you were brainstorm sparring back and forth, but it was your end responsibility to take those ideas to a client, would you have the same concerns?
No, none.
Why do you think that is?
That's a good question. And it's a little bit fresh for me because I would say just in the past, I don't know, couple of months, I've really started using it in this way too.
Me too.
Uh-huh.
Me too.
So I think it's almost more that I haven't gotten used to. Like it feels like a fresh, different way of doing things. And it was not a part of my process of my work. And I wouldn't even say it's not always a part of the process, but when I'm like, okay, there's a deeper challenge, I want to take a little bit more time outside of a call or outside of our one-to-one Slack messages to really think on this. That's when I'm using it. But Erica, I love that question because no, if like I had an associate strategist or something like that, and we were going back and forth about a client challenge and strategizing, I wouldn't think twice.
I have thoughts. Two thoughts. Number one, what comes up for me with your question, your follow-up question, which is a great question,
Yeah.
Erica, is there's a lot of stigma attached to using AI. And like basically this idea that it's cheating, this idea that it's lazy, this idea that it's stealing, lots and lots of, and I mean, we can get into the theft and that whole thing too, but that's kind of a separate kind of diverting thing. But I think there's a lot of negative stigma about using AI. And so I think that's a big part of why there's not a lot of stigma about leveraging a team of strategists. And the other thing I would say is that a team of strategists that I would be leveraging, I vetted and I hired, right? Like I decided this is what I wanted my team to look like. And I hopefully thoroughly, but you never know because sometimes shit happens, but you feel like this is a person I specifically trusted. And I think like the facelessness of AI kind of takes away feeling like you vetted it. Now, AnnMarie, you mentioned custom GPT specifically. So first of all, I think if you're already talking about like, oh, when I use a custom GPT, you can't say that you are like too new to it or something like that, because I think if you're that far into it, there's people who are listening who are like, I don't know how to do that. Maybe I don't even know what that is. So like give yourself more credit. But I think that helps me feel more, using a custom bot makes me feel more like I've vetted it because I've given it a lot more, but I still feel like the facelessness of it, you don't know. I don't know. There's like I hate to quote Harry Potter because of ethics, speaking of ethics, but like there's a quote from Harry Potter from Arthur Weasley about don't trust anything where you can't see, that thinks for itself if you can't see where it keeps its brain. Right. So like there is, I think, like a level of trust human to human where I'm like, oh yeah, we collaborated. Whereas using AI, yeah, for all those reasons. So that's what I would say is my answer to your very thought-provoking question.
That's so interesting. I feel like if I was working with a junior strategist and we were sparring back and forth, it's still at the end of the day, it's my responsibility to vet the information that I'm getting, to put it together in a way that you can then present to the client. And the client is depending not on that junior strategist's expertise, they're depending on mine.
Yeah, totally.
And I feel like it's the same with AI. Now, I do think there are ethical concerns with just copying and pasting directly from the platform straight into a document and sending that off for approval. Like those are not your thoughts.
Especially if somebody paid you like 5 figures for that.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But even that, if you built the custom GPT though, then it's not like that person could have put the same prompt into Chat GPT and gotten the same response. It still learned from you. So I think there is still something to be said for that too.
And I'm putting into AI like transcripts of conversations and things like that it knows my brain in a way.
Yes.
And knows like the things I would and wouldn't say. And I'm usually very polite with it, but I will, like, what was it, a couple of days ago or like a week or so ago, it said something like cash. It said something that was very like bro marketer cash, like it had the word cash in it. I can't remember what it was, but I've just said, ew, never say that again. So like things like that I'm like, if somebody else plugged it in, they might get words like that. But yeah, I very much always describe it as like a thought partner, but I'm the one who like, there's almost nothing that it ever gives me that's my final thing, unless it's like, I'm trying to use it to help me develop like a skincare routine or something.
Yeah, yes. I'll I'll say there are things that I've copied and pasted from it, but it's not usually the first iteration. So we go back and forth for a while. We tweak things. I'll be like, okay, I like this, except this one sentence. I want to really like, let's rework that. Or like, I want this formatted differently. Can you give me the same info, but as a list or what? Like we go back and forth for a while. Okay, I want to tweak it for this voice. Okay, I want to tweak it. Like, is there anything else I should take into consideration for this audience? So even if I copy and paste from it, that wasn't the first thing it fed me. Like we still went back and forth for a while.
I think that's a super user move though. I don't think the vast majority. Yes.
Really? You don't think most people are going back and forth?
I think most people are using it as I'm going to ask it a question. It's going to spit out a response and I'm going to take that response and use it. I think that there are still plenty of people that don't understand the true power and value of feedback within the kind of the way that we forget about the social part of social media. People are forgetting about the chat part of ChatGPT, that you're supposed to chat with it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good thought.
Have you all played with the Canvas? The Canvas functionality where you can hit the little pencil and it opens up in it opens up in the side and you can just edit directly like a Google Doc. For those of y'all listening, if you have not played around with that, it's so cool.
I didn't do it on purpose, to be fair. I was workshopping something with it and it did that and called it a canvas. And I was like, okay. So we ran with it. And sometimes this is one of the things I love about ChatGPT too, is that asking it like, what is the canvas? Or like, what can I do with it? And it will tell you. And it's like, it tells you how to use it, which is kind of funny. Even if you're not getting results that you like, telling it like, what can I ask to get, or how should I tweak that prompt, or what information would help you give me results that I like better, and it will tell you, which is so funny.
Yeah. So AnnMarie, you mentioned transcripts of phone calls, and I have done that too. And I'm curious, what do we think are the ethical concerns about, because we're all on Zoom all the time and we are always recording. I have an army of bots that come with me to every phone call. What are the ethical concerns about uploading transcripts from phone calls that we've had with colleagues?
This is great. For me, I think it's all about intent. So I have uploaded one example, and I love this example, and I tell my clients to do it too. I've uploaded calls with like ideal clients. Well, for example, sometimes something I offer is like laser consults. We'll do an hour session with someone just to like help them solve a specific problem. And those are available to people who are not current clients and have not, well, sometimes whatever. It's usually people I haven't worked with. And almost always what we find by the end is like, it makes sense for us to work together in a deeper way. So that's like such a perfect capturing of what someone is going through and experiencing and the challenges that are top of mind for them when we haven't worked together in a deeper way. They're not using my language yet, like all of those good things. So I have before uploaded a transcript and been like, this is an ideal client for this particular offer. Can you summarize for me the top challenges she was dealing with, the things she's thinking to herself about these problems, and why she'd be a perfect fit for this particular offer?
I love that. And
then it's my jumping off point for like content creation. So I'm thinking, I'm just now can look back at that document and say, okay, what content can I create today that's going to resonate with her? And so I'm not using it to like, and probably if there was anything like really extremely sensitive, maybe I would edit it down first before I plugged that in. But yeah, I think for me, it's like all about intent. So if I'm like, this person is someone who I would love to work with 10 more people like her, give me a summary of this type of person so that I can use it in more of my marketing materials, but I'm not going to like leverage the actual call itself per se.
Yeah. I have done the same thing where I've got quote unquote sales calls where I establish if a client is going to be a good fit or not. And I have uploaded a series of those, some that were a good fit and some that were not, and had it analyze what were the commonalities, what were some of the differentiators, and what were things that I could have said differently. And love it. It's been so helpful. But now I am starting to second guess. Now, granted, every single phone call or every Zoom, there's that little thing in the upper right-hand corner that comes on and says, you are being recorded. Are you okay with this? And we all just automatically click it. But I wonder, like, do my clients know that I am then uploading the exact things that they said into AI? Now, as an AI strategist, and I try to be as responsible with this as I can, I
Yep.
have all of the privacy and don't use this to train the model. I have all of that ticked in anything I can, Claude, ChatGPT, all of it. But how how many people do that? How many people that are using pro versions
You.
have that toggle, do not use this to train the models? And what responsibilities do we have to our clients
Yeah.
or to colleagues that we're recording to say, oh, hey, I'm going to use this and it's going to be uploaded to OpenAI?
Okay, this is what I was wondering about, is that like that's where I think the concern can come in, is like if they haven't consented to it being used to train something that is not even a part of my company. So that was to be totally honest, I don't know if I have that checked. So that's like to do for
Didn't
me.
know it was a thing you could
Yeah.
check. Yeah.
Is
Oh,
like
oh,
I think it's fine for me to use. And by the way, I don't start any of my Zoom calls with an automatic recording. I ask, I mean, it's an expectation on like my group calls and things like that. Like we know the call's going to be recorded, but like if it's a sales call or something like that, I will say, are you okay with me recording this? We just use it for like internal purposes. And if you
yeah.
want me to send it to you for any reason, we can. So I always do ask, but okay, that's very good to know, because that's where I think I would draw the line, is like I don't necessarily want those calls being used to like train the model.
I agree. But even that, I think it depends on what you do. And it depends on what conversation you're having. And I think transparency is everything. I think as long as you're
Yes.
transparent about the fact that, hey, first of all, in Zoom, I have the AI assistant turned on, and that is something you also have to consent to in my meetings. I can turn it off if or I do turn it off if a business call turns personal. Like if someone starts talking about their like medical diagnoses or something, I turn the AI assistant off, right? Like, okay, we don't need that. First of all, we don't need that summarized in our meeting summary. But second of all,
Yeah.
that information does not need to be recorded. That information does not need to be imported into like Zoom's AI learning model. I think I have never uploaded a private call into I've never uploaded a private call into AI. I've uploaded like webinars that I've given. I've uploaded podcast episodes, which are public content anyway. I've
Right.
uploaded like trainings I've given, even if the training was private, but it's me. I'm the one who's speaking, right? So like I'm consenting to uploading that. So I don't care. And to be quite honest, I don't know. I don't really care if AI does use my expertise to train the model. Like I also don't,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion or not, but like I'm not concerned. I would be more concerned if I had really like anything medical, of course, anything mental health, definitely. Like if I was involved in a field like that, then any private call like that, I think should absolutely not be uploaded in any
Right.
circumstance.
Like therapists, no, you should not be uploading your
Yeah.
telehealth calls to ChatGPT.
Unless it's on a
so
private server.
Here's a thought though. The creators of these technologies, we all saw them sitting in the front row at the presidential inauguration. It's now the end of February, so this was just, gosh, 30 days ago. It feels like a lifetime. We saw them all sitting in the front row at the inauguration. We have seen over the last 30 days what is happening to federal employees and contractors who were pulled into projects just through the nature of doing their own jobs that are at odds now with some of the administration's goals, we'll call them. And now we are uploading information about ourselves, potentially our clients, those conversations, which help to form a profile on us, just as humans, as multifaceted, imperfect humans. Is there a potential, maybe not today, but is there a potential that that type of information might inhibit you from getting a job somewhere down the road, or
100%, yes,
or a loan for a home, or
and
there's
honestly
tons of things that just
even
once
more
you start
sinister
thinking
than
about
that,
it.
like being put on a list, a watch list, being put on. I think the kinds of conversations that I have, that including some that I have uploaded like from this podcast, there's absolutely no question. But I also know that that is true for the stuff I post on social media.
Yeah.
And that's also true for the stuff I say in the podcast that's public anyway. I have already joked about being unemployable. Like, I've shared so much personal stuff in podcast episodes over the years, not just my own, but also as a guest on other people's. I think the more you do it, the more you like get emboldened to say anything. I've shared things about my body and my relationship history and my like all kinds of things on podcast episodes, that, and definitely political opinions. So I also have joked, like, if there's a watch list for people who post those kinds of ideas on the internet, I'm on it already. So that doesn't necessarily, I mean, I think there's very real risk in uploading those kinds of things to a system like that, as far as what you're asking. But for me, that does not change my feeling about my involvement, because my opinions are already all over that. I mean, that's already, if you look me up, you're going to know what I think.
Same. But I think for me and the clients that I'm working with, well, most of them would probably say the same thing too. But we get really deep. Like, when I am really digging in with a client about their brand, and I firmly believe that in particular, small businesses need to be very vocal about their values and where they stand as part of their brand. It's what helps to set you apart. It's what helps people to decide whether or not they want to work with you. And part of some of those conversations get really deep into personal values and stories. And it's giving me, just this conversation, it's giving me pause about the information that I'm uploading. I try and absorb as much AI content as possible. And so I was listening to another AI podcast a few weeks ago, and the woman that they were interviewing, she uses AI, and they've got tons of spreadsheets with data, and they're just running data on like ad campaigns and things like that. But they take out any identifying information about any of their clients at all, and they replace them with numbers instead of names, just as an extra line of defense, I guess. And maybe that is something that we, like, not the three of us on the call, but your bigger listener base, like, are those things that we need to start doing to protect ourselves, to protect the people that we talk to and the people that we're using AI. I mean, I use AI for my clients all the time.
Mm-hmm. I think protecting the people that you talk to, especially people
they're all going to hear this and be like, oh my God, my stuff's out there.
I think the people who are trusting us in a private capacity, yes, I think we have an ethical responsibility to protect them, to protect their identifying information, to protect their personal opinions, to protect their areas of expertise. I have a client who, so I run, one of the ways I use AI in my business is AI generated transcripts of episodes, and we provide them to clients. We use, right now at the time of recording this, a system called TurboScribe. TurboScribe does not link directly to ChatGPT and does not have an LLM associated with it at the time of recording this. Who knows by the time it airs? But so I can't say, I mean, it is literally an internet-based like platform. So I can't say that it's not going anywhere. Like, I don't know that, but to the best of my understanding, it's not being fed into anything. But I know that that podcast episode is going to air on the internet. It's going to be public. Anybody can take that and put it in the ChatGPT if they want to. ChatGPT can scrape the internet. So, I mean, it can find it, right? But like, I have had a client who specifically requested, hey, please don't ever upload my information. She's a writer, an author, a published author. And she's like, please don't ever upload my content into ChatGPT, because I don't want it to be part of the AI system, the learning model. And I respect that. I mean, I don't upload my clients' podcasts into ChatGPT anyway, but I respect where she's coming from. I said, the only place I upload it other than the internet for publishing is to the system you know of, TurboScribe. I have used Otter.ai as well, which does have a chatbot associated with it, although it's definitely not ChatGPT, I can tell you that, because it's terrible, but it does have a language model associated. She also uses Otter, so she was very familiar with it. So I was like, that's the only other place I've ever uploaded it. And if you don't want me to upload it there, I won't. Like, I respect you, but that's the only place I use it. I never upload client stuff to ChatGPT. I think there's a lot of ways it could be helpful if I did, but I don't think that it's ethical to do that without explicit permission from the person. I definitely think that.
Yeah. And I think it also, as a personal, like me as a user, I think some of it has to do with risk tolerance as well. Like, I certainly have clients who are more private than others.
Yep.
I am like, usually when I'm working with someone and I'm the client, I'm like the least private. I'm like, sure, share whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
And I
Make the
might,
world better. Use me.
Yeah. Yeah. If I'm sharing something like super, and I believe that like my integrity and my values, like, if more people had them, the world would be a better place. Like, I do believe that. So I'm happy to like share that, get that out of the world more. If I'm sharing something super sensitive, which has happened a few times in various like programs that I've been in and things like that, where I might say like, this is definitely confidential, whatever. So, and as someone who does coach and consult and mentor clients, I am very discerning also when like those are moments that are happening, so that I wouldn't leverage those more sensitive moments and sensitive topics in any way. Like, I'm just in the moment with them there. It's not like something that would get uploaded or used in any particular way. But I do think that also having there's that simple toggle on don't use this to train the model is like a really good habit to get into.
Totally.
Even though I don't care if it's using my thoughts, if I am going to be using it to share client thoughts, client conversations, stuff that if I'm just going back and forth, I'm not like even saying my clients' names, but because they haven't like explicitly consented, and I don't, every time I want to have a conversation with ChatGPT about something that's going on with a client to try to support them, I don't necessarily want to have to get that particular client's explicit consent. It's just better for me to maybe have that blanket rule of like, okay, don't use my stuff to train the model.
Yeah. And I love the idea of redacting stuff. I think that also makes total sense. And we already definitely established, we firmly agree there are specific fields or industries you should not. I think I'm really interested in the insights I could learn, but I'm also not interested enough that I think at the time of recording this that I'm interested in uploading specific client stuff. But I like some of the stuff you guys are doing. I really want the insights and analysis on like sales calls. This is terrible. I don't even record my sales calls, but I do think there is something to be said for kind of the same question you asked earlier, Erica, which is like, would you have the same ethical dilemma about sharing it with your team?
No.
Yeah.
No. And
yeah, it's interesting, right? And I've actually thought about that sometimes when a client shares something with me of like, let's say they're going to pause their podcast for a little while, and it's because they have something like big going on in their life. When I am updating my team, like, okay, so this person's pausing for now, like, where's the line of what you share, right? Like, that's already something that is like, okay, I mean, most of the time, things like that specific example, my team doesn't need to know why. I can literally just say the podcast is pausing, they have personal stuff going on, I think they'll be back, or I don't think they'll be back, whatever it is.
Right.
And then there are situations where it's maybe a little more obvious. Like, let's say one thing that happens several times is having co-hosts who are no longer associated with each other. And so then some stuff goes down between them. And then I have to go to my team and say like, all right, so they're no longer affiliated with each other, and here's how we're moving forward, but here's also the implications for the content. Like, I need you to go back through and remove any mention of this person from the show notes, or like, there are times that then they're gonna know a little bit more about the situation, right? Or like, if they're in contact with that client, hey, don't include this person on emails anymore. Like, they're going to need to know a little bit more context what's happening. And that's kind of been a weird line of how much to share. So anyways, that's not specific to AI, but I'm reflecting on that question you posed of like, how is it different from working with your team? And I think it's interesting that it does feel different.
It does.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you guys one that like used to literally keep me up at night, and then I'll share why it doesn't, but anymore. But can we talk about the environment? the environmental impact. I think this is like a very real part of the AI experience. And like I said, it is the reason why until just a few months ago, AnnMarie, I was not like a heavy AI user. I mean, I used AI in some contexts, right? Like, listen, I had autocorrect on my phone since I had an iPhone. I use like Canva's AI tools as they roll them out, right? Like there is AI I've been using, but specifically generative AI. I have hesitated to become I'm going to claim super user. Thank you for calling me that, even though I didn't know there was a toggle for not training the model.
Yeah.
Now you know.
I hesitated mostly because of environmental impact. That was my biggest gripe. So like, what do you guys know? What do you hear? What do you feel? What comes up for you about that?
I'll take this. So I really looked into this a lot because I don't know, being raised Catholic guilt or something. Like I'm like, if I'm going to be like what I guess I am a bit of a super user now. I'm speaking on an AI summit next month. So I guess I could call myself, I'm kind of like the people's AI person though, because I'm like, I'm not like an expert. I'm just like, I've kind of become a super user because I need a thought partner a lot because I need all the brain power I can get. So anyways.
And it's amazing at that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I really did a deep dive into this maybe about a month ago. And I found somebody on Threads who had taken, I think he's an environmental expert, something he took for like actual studies from like actual published studies in professional journals, like real trial. I fact checked it all. I have a journalism degree, so that's one thing that I'm like, my media literacy is pretty solid.
Love that.
So yeah, I'm very like, okay, let me check. I got to make sure this is all legit. And I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but I think it was something like you would need to do something like, you need to prompt it something like 2,000 times, or I actually think the numbers were way, way, way higher to equal the carbon like footprint of driving 1 mile. It was way, way, way more than I'm using it in a day or even a week. I think 2,000 seems really low. And so that kind of put my mind personally at ease also because, and I know one of the things we were potentially going to discuss is like offsetting that. We're a 1-car household. We're fortunate we live in a city, so we can walk a lot. I know not everyone has that ability, but we do try to keep like driving to a minimum. If we walk to the grocery store all the time, even though like some people who live where we live would maybe drive. So to me, that puts my mind at ease a little bit that I would actually like there is a lot of fear mongering out there right now around that. And it concerns me. I think Sarah, you and I might have talked about this, that the people who would reduce their AI usage with that concern in mind, I don't want those particular individuals to get further behind by not using AI.
That's a great point.
Yes. That's like exactly the kind of crux of Erica's podcast, actually, which is probably why we talked about it, AnnMarie, because I had met Erica, which is why I was like excited to introduce you. So I completely agree with you. I don't know a statistic that compares it to driving a mile, but somebody commented on a thread I had posted recently. The thread that I posted, and we can talk about this too if we have time, is that I don't understand all these social media posts that are like witch hunting. I can tell you're using ChatGPT. I'm like, why do you care? You either like their content or you don't. Like, who cares if they use ChatGPT or not? But like, and I have actually literally commented that on people's thing before with like, oh, the M dash or the rocket emoji is a dead giveaway. And then I'll comment and be like, well, why do you care? Why do you care? If it doesn't appeal to you, don't buy from them. I don't like, it's literally that simple. If their copy sucks, then they're gonna see it in sales. So why do you care if it was their copy sucks because they are a shitty writer or their copy sucks because they use ChatGPT? Why do you care? And if their copy's great, why do you care who wrote it? Do you care if they hired a copywriter? I can tell that's not you. I can tell you hired a copywriter. You're not that smart. Like, I mean, what is this? What are you actually trying to say? Right. So like,
Nope.
I don't care.
Nobody likes the AI safety patrol with their little badge.
It's very
it's
a very
Threads,
strange flex.
wagging their fingers.
So I had posted this on Threads and somebody commented something similar, AnnMarie, and it was the same thing. I actually asked her for a source because I was like, before I just like jump on this, do you have a source where I can read more? And she sent me actual like scientific studies about it. So yes, same thing you're saying, published scientific journals, right? Like real sources. And it was 144,000 prompts
Okay,
would
so I love
equal
the actual numbers. Sorry
well,
for
and
talking.
I don't know if that's exactly correct, but I could easily check, and I will link the sources she gave me, because that, if anybody wants to check it out, but I believe it was 144,000 prompts equals the environmental impact of a hamburger. And I was like, for the number of
Ooh,
hamburgers that I have eaten in my life, I mean, listen, my ChatGPT usage is not the problem. So like, okay, then I
Yeah.
can sleep at night. Like that, that really helps. Thank you.
So that's the other thing. This is not a get me out of jail free card, but I'm also a pescatarian, so I don't eat hamburgers ever. So
Yeah, yeah.
like I don't drive that much. I don't eat meat. So like I'm like, yeah, my AI usage is not the issue. And to be honest, I don't love all the fear mongering put on consumers around like our responsibility in the environment. Like we all do need to work together, but the bigger, much bigger issue is larger
Corporations,
Like,
absolutely. I
it
think
is.
even like my own personal, I think what was reassuring for me about that is that for my own personal usage, like I don't need to feel guilty for my own personal AI adoption, because there are so many things I could do that would have a bigger impact on the environment as me, an individual person, than not using ChatGPT. And I needed to hear that. So I think that that's important to say. The other thing that stopped me from staying up at night worrying about AI's impact on the environment is that, Erica, you mentioned this new administration. Like, I think we have bigger problems. I
But we are
think
not
that there
we
are
are not the
other
problem.
reasons the world is like on the precipice of ending, or like the human race is at stake, or like I think there are bigger human rights violation considerations that need to come
yeah.
before, that just are bigger priorities. And so I think like, okay, AI using hot servers is just not the most important thing right now. And maybe some people will not like that I think that, but that also helped me sleep. I'm just being honest. Like,
If if you want another way to sleep easier at night, Microsoft just announced that they are starting to divest and back away from a lot of the purchases that they had started to make for land, for extra, like all of these extra pieces of infrastructure that they were going to need for those servers. And I just read this article yesterday or the day before. I wish I could remember. I'll see if I can find it. I believe it was TechCrunch. But Microsoft has started to ease back. And I believe, Sarah, you and I talked about their purchase of one of the nuclear facilities out at,
Yeah.
3 Mile
oh,
Island.
3 Mile Island, 5 Mile Island, however many miles is the island. I don't know. However many miles. But yeah, so they're starting to back away from things like that. And I think as much caution as there was about DeepSeek, the AI, the open source AI coming out of China, and I was very skeptical about that. And the fact that you can take this model, put it locally on your own computer and run it without it needing to be on a server, I think that it is only a matter of time before there are other companies that prove that we are not going to need those amounts of server, that amount of infrastructure. I think that a lot of the, like you were saying, AnnMarie, the fear mongering had to do with the earlier technologies and the amount of just computing usage that it took for one query.
Yeah.
And it scared people. And now we're learning that that doesn't have to be the reality
Yeah.
of it.
Well, even if you think about like computers way back, like even my mom always talks about, because I'm in my 30s, so I don't remember computers like this, but my mom talks about like at her first job, how there was an entire room that was
Yeah.
the computer. And if they had worried, and obviously information wasn't disseminated as quickly as it is now back then, but if there had been this worry that, oh my, for every office building to have a computer, we're going to need this much more space and it's going to take up this much more land, when now we're all walking around with computers in our
In our
hands.
pockets. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it just, the reality, or computers on our watches that take up this much space. So it's like that became a non-issue like relatively quickly, because our first home computer was not that big.
That's so true.
And that's what I wondered, is like, it's also to these companies' advantage to not require that level of infrastructure to do what they need to do to improve the technology, so that that's not required.
Agreed.
I do appreciate, because you mentioned your phone and your Apple Watch on your wrist. I do really appreciate Apple's commitment to zero carbon footprint. They are doing what they can to offset the negative that they're putting out into the world. by doing positive. And I think that like getting to that net zero, I hope that other companies start to follow suit.
Yeah, that's really interesting. How do we feel about nuclear energy as an alternative? Like what does that bring up for you guys? Anything?
I think of Homer Simpson. I don't know enough about it
I mean, me neither.
Same.
So
to have an
not like
opinion.
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I think the extent that I know is like, again, kind of more fear mongering type stuff of like, well, two things. One is like Chernobyl, the miniseries. And number two is playing games my whole, I mean, to your point, since we had a whole home computer, basically like SimCity, where when you have to put in energy options, electricity options, nuclear is an option and it's super clean, but you need highly skilled labor because if it melts down, it's catastrophic, like the end. So I feel like kind of what I said when I first heard about nuclear as an alternative option to help with the processing power as AI continues to expand and grow. And it was okay. So nuclear is simultaneously like either like giving us hope, but also the alternative is like certain death, right? Like that's basically where we're at. This is either going to save the world or end it. That's where we're at. Like, not to be extreme about it, but I mean, are we on the same page?
Like the ultimate duality.
The robots can help us build email funnels, and they can also take over and kill us. If it's not nuclear, it'll be AI. It's fine. It's fine, everyone. Nothing to worry about.
So when I posted that thread about like the witch hunting posts, most comments were really positive, like agreeing with me. But there was one white dude who responded and not all white dudes, whatever, right? Like hashtag. But this one in particular showed up on my thread and we went back and forth and I'm actually very proud of what I had to contribute to the conversation. So I'm going to share it. But I also did not change his mind. So I think it's worth like kind of floating by you guys and seeing what you think, which is his point was that it was created unethically by using people's thoughts, expertise, art to learn from without their consent and to reproduce. Now, I definitely made it clear. I think reproducing art, so like I think that there's a lot of ethical considerations for generating art, generating photos, generating picture. Well, there's a whole lot we need to touch on of like deep fakes and using people's voices, using people's likeness. Like there's a lot of ethical concerns there, but also from an art perspective, their art styles that are their unique developed expertise, right? Their own unique voices, their own unique words, which is why my client / friend who's an author like did not want her words to be trained. Like I get that. So I think using it for art, I'm not proposing anyone use it to write music, or I mean there are things to but I'm not saying that, right? I'm not talking about writing music or generating t-shirt images or selling fine art prints or writing songs or even writing a book using AI. I'm not talking about doing any of that. I'm literally just talking about like sales copy, right? As far as what my original post was. So I understand all of not using it in that way. And I do understand and agree that there's ethical concerns about how it was initially created and trained on these things without creators and artists' consent. I understand where he's coming from with that. His point was, if you know that it was created that way off of theft, then using it in any capacity and supporting the creators in any capacity is inherently unethical. And he literally used the words, anyone who uses it should be shamed. And I said, the shame rests with the people who stole, not necessarily with the users, like being mad at the wrong person. Also, I agree that there's some ethical considerations when it comes to reproducing art. Like, okay, I don't think the same carries over to sales copy, and definitely with like a strategic thought partner, I don't think that carries the same weight. But I do also think that I literally said to him, what device are you using to type that response to me on? Because how the metals in your smartphone were sourced is unethical, or your laptop, the way the internet was created is unethical. These things were not like, and you're still using those. Should we shame everybody who uses an iPhone or a smartphone because everybody uses a smartphone? Like, I mean, yeah. I think there's no such thing as ethical consumption under capitalism, right? That's the like little phrase. So if you if you are going to shame people for using AI, you're just trying to keep people from doing the good that it can do, because it can do a lot of good. And he just basically didn't want to hear that. And I said, I can see this is a hill you are willing to die on, which we all have them. This is a hill you are willing to die on. Have a great week. And he basically said something shitty back to me and was like, you have a great week. And I was like, okay, we're done here. But thank you for needing to get the last word in. Okay. But anyways, what do you guys think? Do we need to take into consideration that it was built unethically?
What exactly what you were saying, you got there, and I was like, was exactly where I was going to go with this. Is tell me one industry has not been built with some level of unethical practices. Religion, like apparel, there's where there's good, there's bad. It's just the duality of humanity. It's like it just is. And I am just generally not a very like black and white thinker. Like if this bad thing is always bad, or because this bad went into this, that makes everybody who touches that thing is also bad and should be shamed. I really disagree with that, because I believe that more humans who are holding on to shame is going to make for a much more, I think mostly everything that's wrong with the world is due to humans who are holding on to shame, really. But so it's not a hill I'm willing to die on. And there are very few things of that nature that are hills I'm willing to die on, because I do just believe that where there is good, there is bad. And if I know and trust myself that my intent with that, whatever it is good, and whatever I'm going to do with that thing is with the intent for good, and I'm constantly open to working on myself and seeing new perspectives so that I can continue on that path, then I'm okay for me. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who are not doing good, who are, I mean, even in our industries, like I see these, I'm sure we've all seen them, the reels that are like, I saw one yesterday and I believe verbatim what it said was, don't get a job, go on Chat GPT and like tell it to create an ebook, put it into Canva and sell that. And I'm like, I don't know if we can call that unethical, but if depending on
Bad
who this is,
advice.
it's bad advice. Like first of all, like for a business strategist, I can break down a number of ways that is just flawed. Sure, there's the 1.001% of people who maybe would get something like that to pop off, but there's so much more to the story than just that. So I think if you're like, oh, let me do this flashy hook for a reel so that I can get the views and then get monetized, whatever. Okay, that's not ethical. I'm not doing that. I'm not advising anybody to do that. I would never advise anybody to do that.
Right.
So in that instance, I'm always coming back to my intent.
Yeah, I think we got to choose our hills.
Mm-hmm.
And is the technology perfect? No, it was not developed in a perfect way. I don't agree with a lot of the stances of the founders. I absolutely do not agree with the direction Meta is going, but I still use Instagram for my business. And that's not my hill. I've got others that I do lose sleep over, and that's okay. That's okay. I cannot fight every fight.
Right. None of us can.
Nobody can. Nobody can fight every fight. And so we have to strategically choose. And we also, I think, as long as we are continuing to make strides in a positive direction, even if it's not perfect, the like you said, AnnMarie, like the intent behind it is important. And we're all gonna mess up and have to take a couple steps back and maybe go in a slightly different direction, but intending to move towards positive improvement, I feel for me, that's enough. Trying to constantly improve and move and make positive strides.
Yeah. Okay. Appreciate the solidarity. And I'm on the same page too. So I think one more thing, and I just kind of mentioned it, but I feel like it needs more than just a quick mentioning, is I think that the use of people's likeness, the use of people's voices, and the ability to manipulate it to look like people are saying and doing things that they are not doing, and those are getting more and more convincing, where it's harder and harder to discern, especially for just the average person, what is real and what is AI generated. There's some like big concerns there. And I mean, obviously we saw like at this point a year, I think ago, with Hollywood, with a lot of discussions about wanting actors to consent to their likeness being able to be replicated for there's just so many things about that are just so wrong, which obviously in that industry that's a battle specifically. But even I thought about this a lot. I'm sure a lot of us did during the election, with the ability to use people's voices, candidates' voices or likenesses to make it seem like they did things they did not do, which would then influence the outcome of elections. But I think there's a lot of things here that are a little freaky. So like what do you think about this? It's gonna happen. We can't stop that.
Yeah, it's already happening.
Mm-hmm. And this is where like my greater concern becomes media literacy, but which is a huge issue. However, the more convincing things become, is it actually a media literacy issue? Like, because right now you can kind of, even really well done AI, you can kind of tell, like you can see stuff glitching in the background or their eyes look funny or whatever. But with voices, like it's easy to fool people. And now this is like such a bigger conversation because
Anne-Marie's
now
like, why are you trying to do this in the last 5 minutes of an episode?
this is like such a can of worms, because even the trusted sources in our current climate are being painted as untrustworthy.
Yeah.
So it's this.
Yes.
This is the thing these are the things I lose sleep over, and I only lose sleep over things I don't have answers for.
Yeah.
Because it's such a spider web of a problem. It really is.
Yeah.
And adding to that spider web is the fact that Meta just released all of their fact checkers. They are so now at a time when it is getting more and more difficult to tell real from fake, the watchdogs of that have all been let go.
Right.
From the place where the vast majority of people are getting their news now.
And their misinformation.
Yes.
For the place where they were already getting their misinformation, now there's more.
Yeah. So what do we do?
I don't know. I mean, I definitely think as like in business, the ways that we're using AI, the more transparent we are and the more we disclose, that builds trust for us that when AI is being used. And when I say that, I don't mean, hey, just so you know, I'm transparently telling you I used AI as a thought partner on this, but I mean this. So I have a friend who's also into AI, and I wish she could have been here today, but her name is Brittany, and she has what she calls AI Brittany. She went to several studios, she recorded, and she's been transparent about this whole journey on social media. So I feel like I could talk about it freely without her here, but she went to several studios, she recorded sample clips of herself talking, doing body language, etc., in different scenarios, different outfits, etc. And now she uses those as a learning model to be able to generate reels and TikToks and even YouTube videos. She writes the script, uploads it. It's her voice, it's her likeness, and she's transparent. This is AI Brittany, right? Like she's disclosing, right? Now, I think that if we're choosing to do things like this, how nice to be able to like make thought leadership reels without having to put makeup on and like in your sweatpants. Like that sounds great. As long as the person who's watching it knows it's still your thought leadership and it's you that you're using. I don't have any ethical problem with this, of her doing this. Now, I do think that the better that technology gets, the freakier it is for the ramifications. There's no way to stop a bad actor. Like somebody acting in bad faith, you can't just, if it's going to exist, which it does already, can't put it back in the bottle, right? So like bad faith actors are going to act in bad faith, but we can do our best to be transparent and disclose, etc. My other kind of concern that comes up with that for me personally is I'm like, I love the idea of this. That's really cool that you did that. I could see how that as a use case, like that's awesome. Do I want to upload my voice and my likeness to be on file. To your point about the learning model, I was okay with my thought leadership influencing the learning model.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with my likeness and my voice influencing a learning model. Not so much. Like that, I don't know how I feel about. And some of it I don't have control over. If there's video of me on the internet, it's going to be used in the learning model, and I understand that. But I don't know that I'm going to record sample clips and upload them. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, and YouTube, so Google, Gemini, Google owns YouTube, obviously. And I think they just recently changed their terms and conditions. So now when you upload a video, you can request that that video not be used to train the models.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a new addition, which makes me wonder
All
if
your previous
they
content.
probably did. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't go back and unconsent because they built the model off of it. Right. I totally agree. That's probably true. I think that's what that commenter on Threads was trying to suggest. Like, we should be mad about this. And I'm okay that we should be mad about this, but that doesn't mean we need to shame everybody who uses it.
Yeah.
We need to shame the creators for doing this unethically. Right. Like, instead, you should have just asked me, because I might have said yes. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And I think I'm pretty good at discerning things myself. So I almost try to approach this on a bit of a micro scale, where like if my parents send me something and it's like, usually with them the issue is not like AI, it's more like real out of date information. Like they got served a reel from like 6 months ago or something. So I'll be like, hey, like the date on this is this or whatever.
Oh, parents.
But, yeah. But I will, if I'm going to share something with them, I'm going to check that, like, I'm not going to share something with them based on a headline. I'm not going to share something with them without verifying it's legit. I'm not going to randomly share things on my profiles without verifying it's legit. So it's more of like, how am I like any amount of my contribution to the issue, really minimizing that. And because I don't have the answers when it comes to like media literacy, when it comes to obviously all the things that have been, so much of what's been used to train it already has already been stolen, but I do think about it like as a parent too, like what I upload of my child and things like that.
Oh, that's so even more complicated.
Yeah.
Because then there's all the ethical complications of like, and I mean, people talk about this of child actors in general. Like, is it unethical for children to act at all, let alone to then use children in content? That's a whole other like ethical complication. And then, in money-making content, I guess, is especially. And then if bots are learning off of children, that's a whole other level of unethical. Plus, even if you consented to that, your child cannot consent to that. That's a whole other like can of worms. Okay, we can't, as much as we could just talk all day, we can't talk all day. So you both know that the way that I love to end these is to talk about something that's making you really happy right now. And I'm going to go first because what's making me really happy right now is custom GPTs. This feels like a game changer for me. Like, I'd heard about them. I did not know how to create them, how to use them. I felt overwhelmed by it, which it turns out, by the way, if you didn't know, if you're listening to this and you didn't know, they're so simple. Like, it's so simple. And
don't tell people that. That's my entire business model.
No, it doesn't undermine that, because podcasting is also really simple and you still pay me to do it, right? Like, I mean,
that's true.
People will always want the extra support. But anyways, what I will say is, yes, there's also going to be some nuance in doing it effectively. I'm just like, oh, I love using this. It's a game changer. And you've already told me in this podcast episode about stuff I did not know. So no, not undermining your business model. I promise you, I believe in what you do. And I'm so excited that you exist. Also, it is making me so happy. The results are like next level great. I'm so happy about this. I love the opportunities for the podcast. I love the opportunities for my business. I love the opportunities for my personal life. There's so many like big picture projects that feel possible because, like AnnMarie described it, I have strategic thought partners, which are literally me, but duplicated back to me. What questions would I ask myself in this situation to work through this, which is so much harder to do by yourself. Journaling is like the closest you can get. And literally, you can essentially journal to ChatGPT. It learns from you, and then it can reflect back to you like, how do I get where I want to go based on what I know about me that I've just told you, right? So anyways, that is so fun to me, exciting. It feels like a new toy and it makes me so happy. And I don't have it toggled, so by all means, learn everything there is about me and use it to make the world better. But what's making you guys happy right now?
I hate to dovetail in with this, but I just discovered that you can create a custom GPT that is a quiz. So I made a find your brand archetype quiz. Like,
I had thought of this actually. That's so funny. I haven't done it, but I had thought of this.
Oh my gosh. And it was so much fun to create. And it's like a Cosmo style or 17 magazine style quiz. You answer multiple choice, and I put all the responses in there and it weights it. But then it's also, I have it programmed to give you examples of women who fit that archetype, different brand voices that fit that archetype. So it's a little more in depth than a Cosmo quiz, but it's still, it was just so much fun to make. And I just, like, everybody that I'm showing it to is so excited and having fun with it.
Better and more high impact than Interact, which is where I used to host quizzes. I have not done it, but I literally thought about this. I have been like mentally planning the questions and the rules and the behavior instructions. That's so funny, Erica. I'm so freaking excited that you are pioneering this in my like friend circle, so that
so fun. It's before. So fun.
Okay, so I'm gonna stick with the theme. I first was like gonna be like sunny walks because I live in San Diego and it is nice right now. Like that does make me happy too. But there you go, that one's out there. But so one thing I've been doing with my clients, again, I'm like the people's AI person. So I've kept it really simple with like how I've helped my clients to leverage AI, and with giving them, like, if I have lessons for them, giving them, here's some prompts you could go use to help AI get you to like kind of thought partner with AI to get you started, and then bring this to me and we'll workshop it further. We'll game plan it out, all that stuff, because my clients are paying me because my brain doesn't work the same way theirs does. So I'm going to spot gaps and all that good stuff. And I'll even think like, oh, here's how we could take it a step further with AI. But I am just now starting to want to build in actual tools, like actual GPTs. And I think I kind of needed to do it like a bit of a more manual way, like in the form of guides with like, here, enter this in, now enter this in, now enter this in. And now I'm like, okay, I feel it ready to go like create an actual GPT. And I have several lead magnet quizzes. I never even thought of using AI for this. And I'm like, that could be a more compelling lead magnet.
Yes. So
and it's fun.
So good.
Yeah.
Yes. I love this. And I thank you both so much for being here and for being willing to go here with me. I think, especially as people who are enthusiastically excited to use AI in your business and with your clients, it's not that those of us who are enthusiastically using it are not questioning the ethics. We are, right? Like, and I think that there's also, with ethical conversations there's a bit of a badge of honor in being the one who's questioning, right? And it's like, no, just because we're using it does not mean we're not interrogating. We are like, this is a circle of interrogators, and that is what we do. So I think, just thank you for being here. Thank you for exploring this with me. If you're thinking like, I can't believe you didn't talk about this ethical implication of AI, whatever it is, XYZ, please message us and tell us. This is the one that keeps me up at night, and let's talk about it. Like, also, did anything that we said assuage your concerns? Is anything we said going to help you sleep? Because like I said, the AnnMarie shared about the driving 1 mile. For me, it was the hamburger. Whatever it is, that like, did we share anything that helped assuage your ethical concerns and fears about AI or not? And if so, would love to hear what you think. All of our information, full bios, not just like 5-word introductions, but full bios, will be in the show notes. Also links to connect with us. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here to both of you. Thank you to you listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the AI Queens podcast. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow queen who needs to hear this. Want more tools and tips? Join the AI Queens Society over at aiqueens.com and start ruling your business with confidence today. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and keep reigning with AI.